Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Troublemaker. This is coverage from the Wargame Cup 2012. It's a tournament put on by UGen Systems for their game Wargame European Escalation, and it is sponsored by Intel, the guys who make that processor in your computer. So we're going to watch a pact versus pact game between Kel and G_Bro. And of course, we're seeing from G_Bro a lot of aircraft and a flying command helicopter. So it looks like he might try and push very early to try and grab Delta or Echo. And this is, of course, a race. You have to race to these. The person who gets these has a very good early advantage, but could take significant losses for this. From Kel, we're seeing a lot of anti-aircraft. 3 Danas deployed. These, of course, are artillery, used for fighting from a distance. And we see some infantry. Not too much so far, so we're just going to speed past this little introductory phase, get the watch, and see what's going to happen. Lots of nice little support vehicles. A Flempes TO-55, my favorite. I very much enjoyed the death animations. And as this winds up, it looks as though, yes, we're going to see some infantry drop off here at Delta, taking position in the woods. And there is, in fact, going to be a lot of Scots rallied up into Echo. Although it looks like G-Bro is actually, or Kel I should say, is not even actually going for Echo. He's actually kept his position here at Foxtrot Gulf, and is actually forfeiting Echo to possibly G-Bro, who is rallying all these infantry forward, and all appears that he might eventually move forward and take this. So it's a matter of seeing how this game works out. It is a fact that there are 3 Danas on the map. This map is very, very heavy on artillery. Cannot stress that enough, because it is such a clump of units. Every unit gets clumped up, and artillery shots are more than likely to hit something. And 99% of the matches on Hell's Highway always end roughly the same way, with one enemy shelling at the other with artillery. Usually the interesting stuff happens on the very earliest of it, and right up we see 2 Mi-17s chopping off 2 Bicyclaris. It looks like an early push by Kel to try and take this key position here. The one imbalanced feature on the map is this little parking lot, which we have established in previous videos is actually shipping Canadian or Swiss themed barrels. There is in fact a gas thing here though, so maybe this is a Canadian / Swiss fuel yard. But anyway, we can see that in fact G-Bro smells something is up. He's also moving units across the map, wanting to get to this key reinforcement block. And this is a very basic strategy in the game. It's something that everyone basically tries to do because the payout for this is so high and the investment is so tiny. You place a few infantry along this reinforcement road, and then as the units show up, they have a few seconds where they cannot respond because the enemy is in cover, and they get off grenade shots, rocket shots, and they destroy that unit for cost. And it pays off very well because a lot of people get expensive units, and it's at that point that it really hurts. Now, is this going to be a situation where we have 2 armies passing in the night, or will in fact G-Bro see this infantry coming, and will Kel see this much larger army showing up? Now he does have a single group of VDV rifle squads sitting here waiting for the Vicidcar. Of course there's 20 of them, so they'll be in a much better position. And very tedious positioning for G-Bro, who's just slowly creeping up the very axis of the map. And these Danas are definitely getting good use, already punishing a BTR. Now note, he doesn't actually have an FOB, which will be a big weakness in this play. Generally speaking, if you're going to go for artillery on this map, it's generally good to get this FOB, and neither actually has it. But so far, Kel is in the lead, getting some lucky artillery hits. No real battles happening just yet, and unfortunately doesn't have anything to spot for this artillery, so he doesn't really know when to stop shelling at a particular location. There are, of course, some key points where you always want to shell out. This little piece of woods here, it's really a place that has to have units. The middle of this town will always have to have units. On this flank, we can see there's a small town and woods, key location for shelling out. And over here, there is a big clump of woods, which you can also shell out. this area here is less likely to be shelled out because it's less likely to have valuable units. But in this case, it actually does have a command armor there. So a little bit of abnormality in the play. And I think they might be passing in the night, but it looks like he has actually snatched an armored supply truck here. So it's possible, very possible, that Kel or G-Bro in fact knows that that Kel is coming for him. Now the big thing is if he can get a unit into this building, that unit will trade tenfold. And here's a scary thing, we have 4 T-55s coming into a bunch of Spetsnaz. And the Spetsnaz, if positioned correctly, should be able to absolutely destroy these T-55s. We see a battle raging over these vefed Kari, an anti-aircraft vehicle running away desperately, not wanting to get within range, but also cannot see this vefed Kari. And another little battle going to happen right here. And this map's all about very small battles and artillery. There are very, very few players in the game who can successfully manage to pull off a well-microed attack that can win. This is a very defensively oriented map, mostly because of how thin it is and how likely you're going to have multiple rockets firing on you. The T-55s are moving into... Are they spotted? They are not spotted. The Spetsnaz do not know they're here, but they are moving in to intercept. And these vefed Kari are becoming quite a problem. 40 Spadokrnarskis have in fact been deployed into these woods with the support of 4 OT-64 Scott 2s, and this should be more than enough to take care of these vefed Karis that could but have not plagued G-Bro. Kel, of course, the only person really engaging with winds here, massively floating lots of supply to the Danas, lots of colos being deployed, very expensive trucks to be using 4 Danas. It might be a weakness in the play of Kel, or maybe a weakness in the deck. He should have definitely modified his deck for this map to have cheaper MD Jupiters than these expensive colos, because the colos are expensive, and unfortunately you don't want to just give them to the enemy, and you don't want to actually use them in attacking with this kind of style. There's very few defensive opportunities for colos. They can be used from anti-air, so it can't be too hard on them. And we see that the vefed Kari will get intercepted by a BTR-65. They do get one of them, though. And might get the second one as well. He better micro this back, and he does. There's 4 T-55s joining the fray, though. So this is becoming a very scary situation. And with all this artillery here, these Spadokrnarskis are in trouble. They are encircling the vefed Kari, and they might just get it. One of the Spadokrnarskis does go down. This artillery fire is definitely paying out. And there's one left. T-55 loading out. Going to take it this BTR-60P AI. Nope. It narrowly moves away. A little bit of brush war. And more Spadokrnarskis are being rallied in to try and deal with this. Tanks, of course, are not a particularly good bush fighter. They do better at close range, and they do better when they're moving. They're a very mobile, siege-breaking unit. And we can see that this position is being even more fortified, as the aggressor here is actually going to be Kel. And an interesting part of this tactic is that a lot of these units he's moving forward will also spot for his artillery. And he can constantly have these 3 Danas firing, well, until he runs out of supply. And we can see over here there's a single Scott here, just spotting. But there are a number of Scots being deployed into Gulf to secure that location. And neither player really moving up to take the plate with Echo and Delta. Both players relatively happy with their positions in Bravo Charlie, Golf, and Foxtrot. We see the Spadokrnarskis are actually going to move up into this OT-64 Scott, which has no guns, so it's just a free kill. And if these Spadokrnarskis can be used effectively, they can actually wipe out all 4 T-55s. They have support coming. Not possibly in the move fast command. This Scott does pull back. It probably will get destroyed in time. And trading Spadokrnarski's core tanks is going to be a good move. He pulls the Spadokrnarskis back in time as he drops a new group of them, the notorious. And looks like, whoa, the T-55s are going down very little fight. The VP ZU is coming in to support, though. And notorious might get caught out of the game. And in fact, this whole platoon might be destroyed by this group of VPZUs. Some very pure play. You rarely see people deploying counters and then pulling back countered units. another group of VPZUs being deployed here in the woods and going to take this group of Spadokanoskis. And unfortunately, there's too many isolated units here for G-Bro, and he has them isolated for a very specific reason: fear of artillery. And speaking of which, he has his own 2 Smirches being deployed on the field now. Smirches are, of course, very expensive, so he's been saving up for these 2 Smirches for a while. Will he be able to support the supply of these? That's something else. No doubt, just to fire on this wooded location. Nope, actually, he's going for something scarier. He's firing rockets across the map, and of course, random rocket hits can completely change the game. And will he hit anything? As these rockets do land. 1 miss, 2 miss, 3 miss, 4 miss, 5 miss. Oh, he just misses the marker. Oh, he does get a support vehicle. Oh my god, everything here is stunned and running away. Another hit like that could actually kill 3 vehicles. So suddenly he's lost golf temporarily. And this vehicle location's actually been revealed. And that's kind of a problem. Kel, oh no. Oh no, Kel. If he loses this vehicle, by the way, completely changes the game. Because this is destruction mode. Because it is destruction mode, if he can destroy 1 vehicle, and by he I mean G-Bro, all he would have to do is get a lot of helicopters and then just all in this other command armor, and then he can just take it. That's the scary thing about this game mode. The second that you can get 1 of his command armors down, suddenly you're at risk of losing everything. So this flank looks like it's been stabilized. No player really wants to move forward and attack. Both players are pretty satisfied with this location. Kel is resupplying all of his units, as is G-Bro. And it's still a relatively even match. We can see that the VP ZUs have liberated this woods from the enemy pact. We can just imagine this game actually being a big civil war between, we'll say, blue is the Ukraine and red is Mother Russia. It's Ukraine versus Russia in our whole RP world of actual battles. I'm gonna drink my coffee right now. But we are entering the mid game for this map, and in the mid game, generally speaking, people try to fortify as heavy as can. They move units into key strategic locations, and they don't have a lot of battles. Instead, they rely heavily on artillery to try and snipe out the other enemy's units and gain a statistical advantage. And it looks like the Spetsnaz will run to the VPZUs and actually do some significant damage. Steals a Kolos as well. That's pretty sickly, especially considering that very soon Kel is actually going to have a pretty weakness in supply. He actually moves the Kolos really far away. And all these Spetsnaz have been pushed out of the woods. And looks like we're going to see a battle of the woods. This is not something we often see in this map, because these woods do not offer a lot of space for spreading out. There's not a lot of open territory. You especially don't see with tanks. That's a little weird to me. Usually tanks are your open fighter. They're looking to charge forward and wipe out infantry. You generally don't see them wanting to get into melee range. Once again, it could be a weakness of Kel's strategy, or particularly it could be something of Kel's strategy I don't understand. Kel has deployed over the power coupling, 2 helicopters that fight, and a recon helicopter, with the intent of doing a decent amount of damage. And in fact, G-Bro has actually done the exact same thing, except G-Bro loses one of the helicopters to some random anti-aircraft fire. Some Spetsnaz slowly moving around the map, looking to probably get into this location here and snipe a command. That would be pretty huge if you could. Even if he was a spot for the artillery, that'd be good as well. And so as we enter the mid-game, whoa! Spetsnaz charging forward into a T-62, and the T-62 is pulling back wisely. T-55's coming in. T-62 of course very expensive tanks. The Spetsnaz are going down, taken in by the T-55s, but not if they're doing some damage. These Kolos, I don't know what they're doing. Looks like he's giving supply back to the enemy, potentially trying to kill off something. And we see another barrage of artillery fire pushing the tank destroyer back. It's very important to note when you're getting artillery fired what units are armored and which ones are not. The units that are armored are going to be in big problems. The Spetsnaz, of course, cleaned by a support vehicle. Look at this. Look how many Smirch he has. He might not have enough supplies to support this many Smirch. Smirch, of course, very heavy on supply. And we're just seeing a lot of small battles here. Artillery fire is actually blazing these woods and making it very secure for these units to get forward. But the Moto Streltsy engage the VPZUs. It looks like the Moto Streltsys are cleaned up. There's another group of Moto Streltsys here. Might be able to take the squad out, finally, and get that key point victory. But Kel is currently in a very massive lead. His artillery is just completely winning the game. And all these little engagements by G-Bro are definitely not helping. The superior veterancy of these squads is definitely helping. A 3 rated VPZU. And a lot of Colo is actually being used by Kel for scouting purposes, which is kind of interesting. And now enemies are both just throwing Colos at each other. And you're wondering, well, why are they doing this? It's to gather information, of course. If you have supply trucks that are empty, and you give them to the enemy, you get information on enemy positions. Pretty simple, actually. So we're down to the last 8 minutes of the game, and something should happen pretty soon. That was kind of scary. Man, helicopter had to move for a second. We're seeing the Smirches and the artillery find up, and whoa, here's what I'm talking about, just craziness. Looks like a lot of artillery running into the Flame Piz T-55, the only place the Flame Piz is. The command is actually pulled just last minute, and G-Bro is actually going to get a very large victory out of this attack. Well, until then. It looks as though he is mostly cleaned up here, and this still keeps a pretty sizable lead here for Kel. And unfortunately, the clock seems to be going very fast still, even with the slowdown. There we go. Oh, G-Bro actually surrenders. He taps out. G-Bro, of course, is a very high-rated player. By very, I mean 1700, and Kel is not. So this is considered to be quite the upset. G-Bro, realizing he can't come back, not really wanting to do the last-minute hurrah, has in fact decided to surrender. So Kel moves on to the next round. There are very few players left, and a lot of players are getting sniped out. So it's round 4 will definitely be interesting. We're going to see a lot of crazy matches. I will have 2 more matches for the day, and pending on something, it might be a surprise. So stay tuned, and thanks for watching if this is the only video you're going to watch today. But watch them all.